Hello, dear students. In this class, we're going to revise the chapter number 7 of your class, Outcomes of Democracy. As you can understand with the title itself, outcomes simply means the results. So what has been the results of democracy so far? And how can you assess the democracy? So with the results, with the outcomes, we can assess the democracy and we can say that democracy is better form of government. So what are those factors or what are those reasons which tell us that democracy is better form of government? That's what we are going to discuss in this chapter. Your first topic of the chapter is how do we assess democracy's outcomes? Now, what do you understand with the topic itself? How can we assess? हम कैसे जांच सकते हैं, परख सकते हैं that outcomes, the results of the democracy. So, first of all, we can say that democracy is better form of government if democracy gives all these things. Here, these are written. If it promotes equality among citizens, if it enhances the dignity of the citizens, if it improves the quality of decision making, if it provides method to resolve conflict, and if the democracy allows room to correct mistakes. Now, being a student of class 10th, you all are already aware, I hope, that what do you mean by democracy? So democracy is, yes, absolutely the form of government in which rulers are elected by the people. So in democracy, the real power lies in the hands of the people. At a regular interval, elections are held and people elect their representative. And those representatives rule on behalf of the people. So therefore, if someone asks you, what do you mean by democracy first? So the democracy is form of government or a form of system in which rulers of a country, rulers of a state are elected by the people. Now here we are discussing that how can we assess the result of the democracy? How can we assess the outcomes of that democracy? So we can assess the outcomes of democracy if democracy means if that system of governance gives you all these things. अब आपके दिमाग में क्वेश्चन आएगा, सर ये प्रमोट्स इक्वालिटी, तो इक्वालिटी का क्या मतलब है, डिग्निटी का क्या मतलब होता है? You all know that first of all, if we go through these points, what question can be asked from you? The question is very simple, that how and why you can say that democratic form of government is better form of government. First, जैसे ही पॉइंट आपको बता रहा है, प्रमोट्स इक्वालिटी अमंग सिटीजंस. डेमोक्रेसी करती क्या है? सबसे कोर इंटेंशन डेमोक्रेसी का होता है इक्वालिटी, इक्वालिटी फॉर ऑल. In our country, just take simple example of our country. We have single citizenship. In single citizenship simply means that we all are Indian. You may be rich, you may be poor, you may be from middle class, you may be like belonging to any caste, you may be belonging to any religion, you may be belonging to any region. But in our country, we all are citizen of this country and we have single citizenship. And what does that mean? That simply means that we all are Indian. And in that, उसके अंदर एक core value है और वो क्या होती है? Equality. That we all are equal. तभी तो हम क्या कह रहे हैं, अब चाहे वो मुकेश अंबानी हो, चाहे कोई दूसरा हो, पर्सन सब इंडियन है भाई. आप रिच हो, चाहे आप पुअर हो, आप किसी कास्ट से बिलोंग करते हो, आप किसी कास्ट से, किसी धर्म को मानते हो, नहीं मानते हो, हम सब इंडियन है. मतलब इक्वालिटी है हम सब में. तो डेमोक्रेसी की सबसे कोर वैल्यू ये होती है इक्वालिटी. इट प्रमोट्स इक्वालिटी. और आप डेमोक्रेसी को बेटर फॉर्म ऑफ गवर्नमेंट इसलिए कह सकते हो क्योंकि ये इक्वालिटी आपको देती है, दूसरी फॉर्म ऑफ गवर्नमेंट आपको नहीं देती. तो पहला पॉइंट मिल गया ना आपको. If the question comes that why do you think that democracy is better form of government, instantly one thing must come in your mind, and that is, sir, democracy promotes equality. Because it promotes equality, it is obviously better form of government. Equality citizens के बीच में, हर citizen equal है. Second point आपको बता रहा है that it enhances the dignity of the individual. Now, first you must understand the meaning of dignity. Now, what do you mean by dignity? Dignity simply means the self respect. हर कोई आत्मसम्मान के साथ में है ना, एक with self respect everyone has the right to live. And how that comes, वो कैसे आता है? वो डेमोक्रेसी के अंदर, because people are treated equally, है ना. If there is a section of society which is like very backward, so the government or democracy even gives benefit to them. जैसे हमारे देश का एग्जांपल लो, we have caste system prevalent here. So in our constitution, the provision of reservation was done, and with reservation, certain benefits and seats quota of seats, they were that was reserved for certain caste section of the society. And why that was done? That was done to remove that backwardness of that the section of the society. So उससे होगा क्या सर? उससे उनकी डिग्निटी एनहेंस होगी. अगर अनटचेबिलिटी हमारे यहाँ पे प्रैक्टिस होती थी, अगर अबॉलिशन ऑफ अनटचेबिलिटी हमारे कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन में, इफ दीज थिंग्स वर देयर, तो इन चीजों को हटाने के लिए, ताकि वो लोग भी डिग्निटी के साथ में जी सकें, आत्मसम्मान के साथ में, सेल्फ रेस्पेक्ट के साथ में, हर कोई. So therefore the provisions were done in our constitution, and we adopted this system in our democratic framework. So in democracy, every person must have this right that they live with dignity. So therefore democracy क्या करती है? Enhance करती है इस dignity को. हर कोई dignity के साथ में जी सके, आत्मसम्मान के साथ, self respect के साथ. Third point है improves the quality of decision making. How? You know, in democracy there are lots of institutions involved in the decision making. Like, you know, in our India we have legislature, we have executive, we have judiciary. And in legislature we have bicameral legislature. It means that we have two houses in our legislature. Central legislature में दो houses है ना, राज्य सभा and लोक सभा. So अलग से judiciary organ है, अलग से executive organ है. So there are like lots of institutions involved in the decision making. So if any particular institution takes wrong decision, another institution is there to balance that or to correct that. So therefore decision making में improvement होती है ना. अब घर में ही मानो फैमिली के अंदर भी अगर कोई डिसीजन लिया जाता है, तो घर में फैमिली मेंबर्स सारे बैठ के अगर डिस्कस करते हैं, बड़े जो हैं हमारे फैमिली मेंबर्स, जो एल्डर्स हैं, तो हो सकता है कोई एक पर्सन कोई एक पॉइंट देता है, दूसरा पर्सन एक पॉइंट देता है, तो एक अच्छा डिसीजन निकल के आता है ना. देन हाउ दैट्स हाउ द गुड और बेटर डिसीजंस आर टेकन. सो इन द सेम वे इन डेमोक्रेसी, इन्वॉल्वमेंट ऑफ लॉट्स ऑफ इंस्टीट्यूशन इंप्रूव्स द डिसीजन मेकिंग. तो उससे क्या होता है? डिसीजन मेकिंग इंप्रूव होती है. ठीक है, तो ये अगला पॉइंट हो गया आपका. सो 3 पॉइंट्स क्लियर हुए. व्हाई डेमोक्रेटिक फॉर्म ऑफ गवर्नमेंट इज बेटर फॉर्म ऑफ गवर्नमेंट? फर्स्ट, प्रमोट्स इक्वालिटी अमंग सिटीजन. सेकंड, एनहांसेस द डिग्निटी ऑफ द इंडिविजुअल. थर्ड, इंप्रूव्स द क्वालिटी ऑफ डिसीजन मेकिंग. ठीक है. एंड हाउ? बिकॉज देयर आर लॉट्स ऑफ इन्वॉल्वमेंट ऑफ द इंस्टीट्यूशंस. नाउ फोर्थ पॉइंट is it provides a method to resolve conflicts. Now it provides method to resolve conflicts. And now what do you understand by this? You know, even in a family, even with neighbors, है ना, घर में अपने पड़ोसियों के साथ में या फ्रेंड्स के साथ में भी कई बार डिस्प्यूट हो जाते हैं छोटे मोटे. सर हाँ सर, बिल्कुल झगड़े हो जाते हैं ना. एक फैमिली में कुछ डिस्प्यूट हो सकता है, आपस में हम मिल के बैठ के उसको सॉर्ट आउट कर लेते हैं. ऐसे ही डेमोक्रेसी के अंदर देयर मे बी डिफरेंसेस in the society, among the different section of society, different caste of society, and we have so much diversity. Just take example of India. तो religious basis पे या caste basis पे तरह तरह के आपको diversity दिखती है, तो differences emerge हो सकते हैं. Democracy में क्या होता है? Democracy में to sort out the dispute there is another institution called judiciary. Judiciary से sort out dispute हो सकता है. Otherwise with negotiation, बातचीत से, है ना. Dictatorship में क्या होता है? डिक्टेटरशिप में तो गवर्नमेंट ने जो डिसीजन ले लिया वो फुल एंड फाइनल है. गवर्नमेंट फिर किसी को पहले जैसे राजा लोग होते थे, किंग या डिक्टेटर्स के टाइम में ऐसा ही होता था. बट इन डेमोक्रेसी देयर इज अ सेपरेट अदर ऑर्गन ऑफ द गवर्नमेंट, जुडिशरी. इट टेक्स डिसीजन फ्री इन अ फ्री एंड फेयर मैनर. एंड द कोर वैल्यू ऑफ डेमोक्रेसी इज दैट सॉर्ट आउट द डिस्प्यूट्स विद नेगोशिएशन. बातचीत से हमें डिस्प्यूट्स को सॉर्ट आउट करना है. तो देयरफॉर we in democracy we have constitution that assures each and every section of the society that this country or this nation or this constitution is for all. This is not of a particular section or a caste of society or a particular religion. जैसे हमारे देश में we have that secular constitution, and our constitution makes coordination and assurance in the society to each and every section of the society. So therefore डेमोक्रेसी करती क्या है? एक मेथड देती है जिससे कि अगर कॉन्फ्लिक्ट हो सोसाइटी में, आपस में डिस्प्यूट हो, किसी के बीच में भी हो सकता है, सर्टेन सेक्शन ऑफ सोसाइटी, तो वो आपस में बातचीत से उस डिस्प्यूट्स को सॉर्ट आउट कर दे. सो दिस इज अनदर रीजन. ऑन द बेसिस ऑफ दिस रीजन यू कैन से दैट डेमोक्रेटिक फॉर्म ऑफ गवर्नमेंट इज बेटर फॉर्म ऑफ गवर्नमेंट. नाउ नेक्स्ट, लास्ट, अलाउज रूम टू करेक्ट मिस्टेक्स. This is another reason. On the basis of that you can say the democratic form of government is better form of government. And now what do you mean by that? That simply means that democracy के अंदर, you know, election is very important. Without election you cannot imagine democracy. Election के बिना आप democracy imagine नहीं कर सकते. तो एक चीज तो दिमाग में फिट कर लो आप लोग कि अगर किसी देश में अगर कोई गवर्नमेंट या वहां की कंट्री के जो रूलर है वो कहते हैं दैट वी आर लाइक वी हैव डेमोक्रेसी एंड वी आर डेमोक्रेटिकली इलेक्टेड, है ना, लाइक we have that free and fair elections and all other things, people have elected us. Without election you cannot imagine democracy, first of all. So election democracy में होना बहुत जरूरी है. And second, free and fair election must be there. Now with election what happens? Election से होता क्या है? People get the political rights. लोगों को political rights मिलते हैं. अब आपके दिमाग में क्वेश्चन आएगा सर ये political right का क्या मतलब है? Simple. Political right simply means the right to vote and right to contest election. Now take example of India. We all have political rights. People, those who have like attained the age, that universal adult franchise, है ना? Now all the people, irrespective of caste, irrespective of creed, है ना, religion, gender, we all have right to vote if we have attained that universal adult franchise, है ना? So therefore there is a political right. Another, we all can form any political party, we all are free, and then we all have right to contest election. So through that all the people have the like all the people have the opportunity to come in the power. लोगों के पास opportunity कि वो power में आ सके. तो election ये चीज आपको देता है. अब अगर आपने मानो कोई, if you have elected any wrong, like the government which is taking wrong decision for you and the government is not like working properly, so at a regular interval you will have option, you can remove that government, you can elect any other government. So in democracy even people have this right to correct their own mistakes. Like mistake simply means the wrong government if you have elected, or otherwise if you think that the government is working properly you can re-elect the government. So it is only possible in democracy. So democracy allows room to correct mistakes. So that's how, on the basis of these 5 points, you can say that democracy is better form of government. This is your first topic, that is how do we assess democracy's outcomes. So we assess democracy's outcomes if democracy provides these all things. So I hope now it is absolutely clear to you. Yes, dear students, now we have come to our next topic, and that is how do we assess democracy's outcomes. That's what we have completed. Now with other points, that is accountable, responsive and legitimate government. Now what do you mean by this? In democracy, the government must be accountable, the government must be responsive, and the government must be legitimate. Now what do you mean by this? First of all, now accountability simply means like if any person does something, and if any person does something wrong, then that person must be made liable to that. Like there must be kind of accountability to that person. If someone is given a responsibility, so therefore that person must fulfill that responsibility with full responsible manner. Means that if that person does something wrong, so that person can be punished even. So what do you mean by the accountable form of government? It simply means that, you know, now the government takes the decision for us. The government is accountable to the parliament, because you all know, just take simple example of India. We elect the representative, the MPs, and those MPs like they select their leader, and that is called as prime minister. That's how the government is made. Then the ministers bring the bill in the parliament, but they also must have the majority in the parliament. And how the majority is gained? By the support of the people. So even the government knows that if we will do something wrong, we will not have the majority in the next election. So therefore, the government is accountable. Accountable towards whom? Accountable towards the people. So the government will do things in a better manner. Government will not do something that is against the will of the people, against the interest of the people, because government knows if we will do something wrong, then the people can change even us. So that is accountable form of government. Now, these are other things that democracy must provide. In democracy, we are most concerned with the ensuring that people will have the right to choose their rulers through elections, as we have already discussed. People will have over the rulers through the election. Whenever possible and necessary, citizens should be able to participate in decision making that affects them all. And how the people are involved in the decision making through the election process. You all know that we all have that option, we all have the right to vote, right to contest election even. So therefore there may be prime minister who have full majority, prime minister होंगे उनके पास full majority होंगे, लेकिन वो ऐसा नहीं है कि कोई सुपरमैन है वो कुछ भी कर सकते हैं, नहीं, गवर्नमेंट भी कुछ नहीं कर सकती, गवर्नमेंट भी must have the support of the people, and government जो भी काम करेगी that must be in the interest of the people. If government will do like, because गवर्नमेंट के पास मेजोरिटी है तो सर वो फिर लोगों के इंटरेस्ट के खिलाफ भी कुछ कर सकती है, अगर वो ऐसा करेगी तो लोगों का ओपिनियन तो उनके खिलाफ बनेगा ना, एंड that will affect them negatively in the election, because ultimately government will have to go in the election. चाहे गवर्नमेंट हो चाहे जो मिनिस्टर्स बने हैं हमारे जो रिप्रेजेंटेटिव है, they will have to go in the election. उनको इलेक्शन में जाना होगा, और इलेक्शन में जाना होगा इसका सिंपल सा मतलब है कि उनको भी पता है कि हम जो काम कर रहे हैं वो लोगों के बेनिफिट के लिए करें, अगर अगेंस्ट करेंगे लोग हमें हटा देंगे नेक्स्ट इलेक्शन में. ये होती है अकाउंटेबिलिटी, है ना. क्लास में अगर सर हम कैसे ही बिहेव करें, रूल्स एंड रेगुलेशंस तो वहां पे भी होने चाहिए. अगर हम रूल्स वायलेट करेंगे सर तो पनिशमेंट तो हमें भी मिलेगा, सिंपल सी बात है. तो वो पनिशमेंट का जो डर है वो आपको अकाउंटेबल बनाता है, रिस्पॉन्सिव बनाता है. यही सारी चीज इंपॉर्टेंट है यहाँ पे, ठीक है. तो नेक्स्ट देखिए क्या बता रहा है आपको. देयरफॉर द मोस्ट बेसिक आउटकम ऑफ डेमोक्रेसी शुड बी दैट इट प्रोड्यूसेस अ गवर्नमेंट दैट इज अकाउंटेबल टू द सिटीजन. समझ गए? दैट a government must be accountable to the citizen. Why? Because the government is made by the people. गवर्नमेंट बनाई किसने है? लोगों ने बनाई है. हाउ? थ्रू इलेक्शन. और अकाउंटेबल का मतलब है वो उनके लिए लाइबल है and responsive to the needs and expectations of the citizen. Now what do you mean by the responsiveness? Respond करना. Respond करने का क्या मतलब होता है? Preemptive action लेना. अगर गवर्नमेंट को लगता है something is wrong, like if there is poverty in our country, so the government must take steps, government must bring programs, schemes, so to remove that poverty, है ना, to alleviate poverty. इसीलिए आपने देखा होगा governments time and again new schemes are brought by the government, है ना. Many schemes are brought by the government, not by specific government, throughout the history since independence in our country. Example लीजिए, गवर्नमेंट अलग अलग स्कीम्स निकालती है ना, आपने देखा होगा बहुत सारी प्रोग्राम्स like for backward class, for women, to uplift the poor section of the society, for the benefits of the disabled, for the benefits of the vulnerable section of the society. Government brings a lot of schemes and programs. Why these are done? These all are the responsive, these all things show the responsiveness of the government. Government कितनी responsive है ना. और रिस्पॉन्सिव मतलब है रिस्पॉन्ड करना, प्रीएम्प्टिवली रिस्पॉन्ड करना, और जो प्रॉब्लम्स है उनको दूर करना. ये होता है रिस्पॉन्सिवनेस का मतलब. और लेजिटिमेसी का सिंपल सा मतलब है दैट थ्रू इलेक्शन मस्ट बी फ्री एंड फेयर, एंड whomsoever people elect, जिस किसी को भी लोग चुने, लोग पार्टी, किसी भी पार्टी को नहीं, न्यू पार्टी को भी लोग इलेक्ट कर सकते हैं. so that party must be given like a right to form government, है ना. so the legitimacy must be there, means free and fair election must be there, legitimacy होनी चाहिए. so if these things are there, we can say that democracy has been successful, democracy is thriving. These all are the important factors or components for a democracy, which accountability of the government, responsiveness of the government, and legitimacy of the government in democracy. Okay, now here a cartoon is given to you, all of you, governmental secrecy, and through this cartoon you have been told that the government knows everything about you, but you know very little about the government. How, sir? Because government knows everything about you, it simply means that government has all the data regarding you. In these days, we have that Aadhaar card, UIDAI card, we have our biometrics in that. So these all things are with the government. Now even that government has this kind of mechanism has been there, that there has been a link of Aadhaar card with the PAN card, and even currently a new reform has been going on that the Aadhaar will be linked with your voter ID also. So all the things are linked. So your complete information regarding your bank details, regarding your transaction details, regarding your everything, regarding like your mobiles, You know, even in mobiles, we have to give our IDs if we have to like get the numbers. So therefore, the complete details are there with the government. Here, this person is showing the or symbolizing the government, and here you can see that government has everything up, in every information about you. Whereas the public has little information. These days, you know, just take example of India. We have a Right to Information Act. Through the right to Information Act, we can avail the governmental information. But people know very less about this. There are like newspapers, news channels. Through that, we see what these political parties are doing, what government is doing. You know, direct involvement of the people in the government's decision making is very less. So that's what this cartoon is showing you. So in this topic, what we have understood, what we have discussed that the government must be accountable, responsive, and legitimate. That's how you can say that democracy has been successful. And these are the component of democracy, component of the government in democracy.